Hello, writers, and welcome back to Spooky Writes. My name's Kemal, Onor, and on today's episode, I'm going to be talking all about what to expect when you make the decision to become a writer. So, let's head into the storm. Okay, writes. So you finally decided to make the decision to become a writer. Well, that's awesome. I'm very glad to hear that. But I do believe there are a few things that you should be aware of, some expectations that you should rethink, or some expectations that you might want to consider, because making the decision to become a writer is something you should not take lightly. And I'm not going to try and talk you out of being a writer. My goal is just to provide you with more information about what it actually looks like to be a writer in the modern age. So considering being an author in the modern age is very different than the way that mainstream media paints it, and there are many different routes that you can go as a modern author. You can go with self-publishing, you can pursue traditional publishing. I myself have been pursuing traditional publishing. I studied creative writing in undergrad as well as to the graduate level, and sort of the things that I have seen is I've seen people who have different expectations of what they're going to get out of a creative writing education, and different expectations of what it's going to look like the moment that they graduate. So that's what I'm focusing this video on today. And again, this is information that I'm hoping will help you decide whether you want to pursue writing, and just give you some more information on how to really think about writing success, and to think about what the true writer's lifestyle actually looks like in the modern day and age. So again, I've been publishing since 2015 or so, and I've been pursuing the traditional publishing route. I've never done self-publishing. I also do not have a novel published. I've been publishing short stories. I've been publishing short stories since 2015, and very much talk about what my experience has been like going through that traditional route of studying writing in undergrad, studying it all the way up through the master's level, what I've experienced on my own journey through pursuing the career of an author. And some of the big things to really think about is you need to realize that writing is a skill that can be developed over time. And big things, and there were two major things that I saw during my time in undergrad when I was studying creative writing, was there were two types of people who made up the creative writing majors, and those fell into one of two camps. And that first camp would be people who chose creative writing as their major because they felt that it was an easy enough field that they could just they could spark notes the reading. They didn't have to do the reading, and they could just phone it in and get a degree. Sort of mom and dad said, I have to go to college, and I can just BS my way through this degree, get it, and then do whatever I want beyond that. And that is a very poor decision in my mind. I mean, I remember having fellow students who would come up to me and say, I haven't read a book since freshman year. And I wanted to grab them and just say, what are you doing? You're a creative writing major. You have to be reading. So if you're expecting that, oh, just because I'm a writer, that means I don't have to read. I'll just write and my ideas will be gold. And so that's very much an expectation that you should have. You should realize that the expectation of being a writer is that you are also a reader. There's really no way of getting around that idea. You have to also love reading to be a writer. And then the other camp that a lot of people fell into were the camp of expecting that just because they have an undergraduate degree in creative writing, they're going to be able to write a best-selling novel, and it's going to make millions of dollars. And that's an unrealistic expectation. There are very few people who make that kind of money at all in the world of publishing. And you need to realize that there's very little money to be had in traditional publishing. I remember during my graduate studies, we had a Times best-selling author come and gave a presentation, and he said to a room of students who we were all pursuing our graduate degrees in creative writing at the time. He said, "If you want to make money writing, write for TV." So there's not the same kind of demand that there is for televised entertainment as there is for traditional book publishing. And so very much being aware that the odds and the chances of you making $1 million, especially off your first novel, are going to be exceptionally slim. A point of a point of a point of a point of a fraction of a percentage of people will ever make that amount of money on a first novel. And so writing should not be there should not really be an end goal in mind with writing. A lot of people assume, oh, I've gone through all this education and I have this degree, which means I can now write. And unfortunately, that's not the case. Life doesn't stop just because you have a degree. It doesn't your daily tasks don't just go away the moment that you have your MFA in writing. They don't go away the moment that you have an undergraduate degree in writing. And of course, you don't have to go the route of getting a degree in writing to be a writer, but the expectation of publishers and the expectation of editors and agents in the modern day and age is that, of course, you have that graduate degree, you have your MFA in creative writing, you have your MFA in a writing field. You also need to realize that just because you even get something published, not everyone is going to read it. I've had people, again, touching on past videos where I've mentioned the fact that I've had family members, I've had people very close to me who don't read my work, even though I've had over 30 short stories published, even though I've been accruing a long list of publications over several years of writing. They just don't read my work. They don't read the genre that I write in. And you need to understand that not everyone is going to appreciate your work. Again, writing is a highly subjective art. It's a highly subjective creative field, and what works for one person might not work for someone else. And so you need to have these expectations in your mind that you just have to kind of keep putting yourself out there, because the number one thing that you can do that will prevent you from ever achieving your writing goals is to stop writing. So I don't want you to stop writing. I want you to continue to learn, continue to grow as an author, continue to gather as much resources as you possibly can, read as many books as you can, do as much writing as you can, and just continue to work at it. It's very similar to how I've been feeling about my own journey on YouTube so far. I've been putting out as much content as I'm able to, and I know that I'm getting better and better talking to a camera. I'm getting better at the skill of creating content, and you will see the same sort of progression as through your journey as an author. You will see the same kind of progression in your own writing. So it's so important that you continue to write, and the worst thing you can do is give up writing. And there are times where you will feel incredibly overwhelmed with the amount of rejection. And so again, a lot of people have this expectation that just because you wrote something means it's publishable. That's not the case. You need to realize that sometimes you might have to revise a story 4 or 5 times and it becomes a completely different story over the course of your revisions, and it becomes tighter and it becomes better over that time. And again, going back to the idea of the fact that not everything's going to work for the same person. It's not every story is going to work for the same publisher. You have to put your work out you have to kind of throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. You have to just be relentless. You have to just keep pushing your material out there, because you have to trust your gut at the end of the day. You have to say, why did I sit down and write this story? Why did I sit down and think this was a good plot line? Is my craft not up? Is my craft not good enough? Is it my pacing? What is not working in my story? And you just need to make it better. And I highly recommend that you write short stories as opposed to novels, because short stories are going to be, you're going to be able to analyze your own work in a much quicker time period, because you don't have to write 60,000 plus words to see the thing at large, to see your beginning, middle, and end. Whereas a short story, you can write a short story in a day, you can write a short story in a week, but it's going to teach you that much more, because you're going to have a large body of work where you can analyze your beginning, you can analyze the middle, you can analyze the ending, you can say, which one of these can I improve? How can I improve my beginnings? How can I improve the middle part? What part is dragging? Are my characters lacking in detail? Is my story just flat? And I will tell you honestly, one of the big concerns that I had when I first started writing was, are my ideas good enough? And the truth is that all ideas are equally valid. There's also this expectation that I have never witnessed, that publishing has a quick turnaround. I'm going to be very honest. Publishing moves at a snail's pace. I've had work that's been accepted for publication in January, and it's not published until the next year even. And so you just need to understand that traditional publishing, it's probably completely different for self-publishing. Self-publishing, you can upload your work as quickly as you want, once you feel it's ready, once you feel it's been edited, proofread, and is at a point where it's ready to be put out there. But traditional publishing moves at a snail's pace. It doesn't matter if you're writing short stories, doesn't matter if you're writing novels. I personally know people who have had their novels accepted by agents, and even then it takes years for that. Sometimes it'll take years for that work to ever see the light of day. So publishing and writing is not a get rich quick plan. If your goal is, I want to make $1 million tomorrow, you're going to be very disappointed, because writing is a craft. It's a skill that takes many, many years to practice, and many, many years of honing before you're ever even ready to get your work in front of people. So my recommendation is that you write short stories, and you practice your writing. You watch channels like mine. You watch channels that talk about writing and give you practical advice on how to improve your writing. And so the more writing that you do, the better you're going to get over the long period of time. And with that said, you need to understand the expectations that people have of, I will just write my novel and then the work is done. The work is never done as an author, as a writer. You need to constantly be evaluating, constantly be reading and revising your work. And that's the other big expectation that people have wrong, is this expectation that I don't have to know the grammar. I don't have to know the rules of language. I can just put my ideas are gold. I can just put my ideas onto a page, and then I'll ship it off to an editor, and that editor will fix all my corrections, and it'll make it pristine. That's incredibly narcissistic if that's the view that you are taking, because it's going to waste the editor's time. The editor expects you to already know, as the author, already as the writer, to have a firm understanding and grasp of grammar and the rules of language. So it's important for you to read books like The Elements of Style by Strunk and White, and to really to understand and hone your knowledge and hone your ability to edit and revise your own work. So you should be revising and editing your own work several times. I do 2, 3, 4 plus revisions on my work before I ever even submit it to magazines. And these are short stories, which are about 2,000 to 5,000 plus words. So, and I read my short stories over and over again, and I read them out loud, and I go through line by line, sentence by sentence, and analyze the grammar. Do I want to use a semicolon here? Do I want to put a comma? Do I want to use an em dash? And knowing how to use those those grammatical tools is going to help you. It's going to allow you to create the story and create the rhythm that you have in your head. So it's so having that expectation of, I just have to send a rough draft out to a novel of my novel. I just have to send a rough draft out to an editor, and the editor will fix everything is ridiculous. It's going to be a waste of time for the editor. Editors expect you to have a firm understanding of grammar before you start writing, which is why, yes, I will return. So returning to that idea of you don't have to get a degree in writing to be an author, of course, but you should be curious to learn as much as you possibly can about writing, and it'll help speed up your progress. It'll help speed up your evolution as an author. It'll help you to increase your writing and improve your writing aptitude, and you'll pick up on things much quicker if you're going through a writing program. I would highly even recommend that you take a writing class, even just to get kind of your feet wet, to see if it's something that you can see yourself doing long term. Because again, writing is not a quick fix. It's not I took this one class and now I'm able to write like Stephen King. I'm able to produce stories like Ray Bradbury. I'm able to write the next great American novel. It doesn't work like that. Writing is a skill that takes years and years and years of practicing and experimenting with and revising and reading. I do so much reading of my own work. Even you have to read works of people who inspire you. Read your own work over and over again, and that's going to help you improve more than anything else will. And so expectations wise, you need to realize that it's a long journey. And so if all ideas are equally invalid, in fact, and I'm going to assume that, and so if we consider that all ideas are equally valid and that there are no good ideas, there are no bad ideas, because it's all subjective at the end of the day, what your success as an author comes down to is it comes down to your execution, your ability to follow through with your ideas. I know so many people over the course of my time as an author have come up to me and said, "Oh, I have a great idea for a story," or "I'm working on a novel," or I have this concept in my mind, and they never finish it because they don't have the discipline. So it comes down to your execution, it comes down to your discipline, it comes down to your ability to stick with the craft of writing long term. And so your expectations should not be, I'm going to be a famous novelist by the age of 21. I'm going to be a famous author by the age of whatever age you want to insert. But that you need to just kind of say, I'm devoting my life to the act of writing. I'm devoting my time. I'm devoting my life to the pursuit of bettering my skill at writing. And sometimes it takes a lifetime. Other times you can be extremely lucky and have your work published as a teenager, or you can be in your early. There's no set age line that defines your success as an author. My personal belief is that as long as you are writing, as long as you woke up this morning and you wrote anything, or even the fact that you woke up and you thought about writing, that to me proves success. It proves that you're moving in the right direction. And that is going to be the most important thing. So I know this is going to be a rather long video, but I very much appreciate you watching. Thank you so much. And as always, make sure you hit the like, subscribe button. And as always, keep it spooky. And of course, here's your writing prompt for this week. Your writing prompt is going to be, the wind whistled through the trees and the branches shook, and there before me I saw a glimmer of blank. So set your timer and start writing, and thank you so much for watching.